about 8 or 9 years as well. And then I'm also pleased to report that we're within about 50 of all the elementaries. So Horning sits at 550, where if you remember last year we were closer to 580. So we were able to tweak that down to 550. And everybody else is right about 500. Hawkins is 504. I think Hilton's 491, Spencer's 495. So the parity between the buildings is working out pretty well in terms of scheduling and balancing in terms of those numbers.
Is that just luck? Or, I mean, just the balancing, or is there?
We're working very, very, very hard at that.
Well, how do you do that? I mean, just.
Well, we balance school of choice versus in-district versus PB kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's not just geography, it's
no.
Specific.
Yeah, what really we moved an additional section that would typically be hosted at Horning to a different building this year. And we'll probably move one more next year and split them evenly, because what we'd really like to see is like a 525, 518, 515, 520. You know, that would be absolutely perfect. It's hard to get there.
Yep.
Because everybody that comes in and even moves in, you know, it's in different areas and PBs and all those. It's really a huge, huge puzzle. But this is by far the closest we've ever been. So I'm pretty happy about that. We've given some relief. We heard, I think for probably the last 2 years, at Horning especially, and we knew it was going to happen because when we redistricted, when we closed Limbaum, we made the promise that we'd keep kids that were already in buildings. And so that made that made Horning a little bigger, and everybody else had to catch up. If you remember when we redistricted, Spencer was sitting at about 364. Hawkins was just over the 400 mark. Hilton was about a 475, 480, and then Horning was off the charts, you know, 580, 586. Every building's a capacity of 650. I don't think that's a good idea. That wouldn't work out well. So again, our ideal number is right around that 500 to 520 mark. That's a good size for us, you know, room-wise and building-wise, and parents coming in and out-wise. So we're the closest we've ever been. Again, we'll take another run in another section, I would say, next year. That would probably be where we look at the Horning number to drop another 25 to 30. That would put us in that 520 and then blend that over the other buildings. So that's worked out pretty well for us enrollment-wise. Any other questions about that? I mean, we'll do a full report, obviously, once we get through fourth Wednesday count. That'll be another 2 weeks from now. The other piece, sent out the press release for the Team Unify ESPN banner presentation. Pretty excited about that. Been working on that program for about 3 years now. Really, Andy Dupay, who's not with us anymore, teaching-wise, Jody Rennick, Lisa Johnson, John Thompson kind of started that program, and I know Gabby's a link in that program as well. And
can you speak what the program actually is?
Yeah, so Team Unify is actually a sports league, a Special Olympics sports league. John actually started the league itself, and we went out to when we were realigning our league, if you remember 3 or 4 years ago, we went through the league alignment. We were also at the same time starting the Team Unify, which other states had done, but there wasn't a big presence of that in the state of Michigan. So we had the teachers that I talked to you about and Mr. Thompson come to us and say, we think we can start this league. We think it's going to be pretty exciting. We have our links in place. And our links are general education students who are partners with our special education students during the school day. It's an actual class we have, and then part of this program as well. I know my son was one of the mentors in the bocce ball league last year, and I know Gabby does it and is very involved as well. So if you haven't been to one of these games, we do basketball, we do flag football, we do bocce ball. Those are our league sports right now, and we're always looking to expand. Like I said, Mr. Thompson then went out to the league as we realigned, and we started saying, you know, if you have a program, let's play, and there were a lot of school systems that kind of expanded that.
So, and Brighton area schools was singled out in particular in the country by ESPN.
Yeah.
And how did that happen?
So there's 10 criteria that have to be met, and then there's a state coordinator. The state coordinator visited one of our basketball games last year and was just in awe our atmosphere, our culture, and all of the pieces we had in place for what they call, like I said in the video, the inclusion revolution. And so, again, the teachers and kids and everybody have worked so hard on this project, and when he submitted for us, and then we met the 10 criteria as well, which don't ask me, I don't know off the top of my head all 10. But,
So what are the 10?
yeah. Yeah, but we'll have that when the banner presentation comes. And so there was a list of 30 that had come out, and we were in 30 obviously, and then we were made aware shortly before our announcement that that's what I'm calling right now, that we were going to be one of the 5. And so with one of the 5, what happens is they actually will be sending a crew from ESPN to us with an on-air talent, and we'll be celebrating that program and celebrating the kids and adults within that program. And so we'll be doing another pep rally, we'll be doing a game of some sort, just looking for a way to highlight that strong program that we have. We also will have focus groups. ESPN would like us to do some focus groups in terms of kids that are involved and teachers that are involved, and how to branch this out even bigger than what we're doing here. So again, out of the 5 schools, 1 was a middle school, 3 were high schools, and 1 was a university. So pretty rarefied air to be in for that program. I'm pretty excited about it, and then we'll see what they do when they're done with that.
Nice.
And if you've never been to a game, you should go.
It'll bring a tear to your eye.
There is more, it outsells a typical league basketball game for people.
Pretty darn exciting. Yeah. If you can leave that game in a bad mood, I don't know what's wrong with you, but it's amazing. These kids work really hard, play really hard. It's fun to watch. And I would say if you've never been to a game, definitely come because you're missing something. And that's an easy transition or segue to Gabrielle Myers. She is our student rep for the first semester, and I'm not going to steal her thunder. I tried not to in that report because we talked today about what she was going to talk about, and I'm going to turn it over to her if that's okay with you, Mr. Burchell.
Yes, please.
Thank you, Dr. Gray. Like you said, my name is Gabrielle Myers, and I would just like to say how honored I am to be here, and thank you all for allowing me the opportunity to represent my high school. So the start of the year has gone really well. Everyone's really excited to be back. The freshmen are acclimating to the high school really well. This week was our Patriot Week, which was led by our close-up class. And they're doing a really great job of celebrating and honoring our country and our Constitution, and exhibiting their patriotism. And then next week, starting Monday, September 17th, is our annual Pink Week. That is where the high school and all of the elementary schools and middle schools come together, and we have these fundraisers to raise money for breast cancer. And at the end, we will present our offerings to Woodland Cancer Center. It's always been a very huge thing for our city. Next Monday is the Powder Puff game. That will be at 7 o'clock. And then next Wednesday will be the Pink Run, and that is also at 7 o'clock. And then next Friday is the football game, which is also at 7 o'clock. And we invite you all to come and support, wear your pink outfits on that day. What's also really cool this year is something new is all of the pom, cheer, and football players at the game will be wearing a jersey by someone or someone they know who has been affected by cancer, and at the end of the game, they will present the jersey and honor them. That's new this year, and that's really exciting, and the community had the opportunity to buy a jersey as well to represent and honor someone. And most people know or have been affected by cancer, so it's a really good thing to spread awareness for. And although we raised $27,000 and hope to raise even more this year, it's really more about the awareness too. So, thank you.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank you.
That's all we have.
Okay. That moves us into for action this evening with item A, meeting minutes of August 13th, 2018. We have a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Dr. Chesney, supported by Mr. Stahl. Any discussion? Okay. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Oh, we got one abstention, I'm sorry. Oh, two, that's right.
I wasn't here for the whole.
Yep.
meeting, so it's-
That's me too. 4-0-3.
Motion passes. We have a quorum. We have a majority. Motion passes.
That was close.
Okay. What would happen if we didn't approve this?
We tabled.
That's an interesting question.
Yeah, we're not even worried about that. Item B, MASB's 2018 Delegate Assembly. Dr. Gray.
We talked about this at the last meeting. At this point, you're going to need to pick your delegate and your alternate to the position of the MASB Delegate Assembly.
Okay, so we had, I think Mr. Stahl had to leave a little bit early, but I think we had all discussed that we thought there was interest and there's confirmation that indeed he would like to remain. Do we have an alternate?
I would like to be the alternate.
Ms. Reed? Okay, any other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of Mr. Stahl serving as our delegate on MASB for the 2018 term, and Ms. Reed being our alternate, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. Any nays?
Nay.
Okay, passes 6-1. We had a motion, didn't we? Did we not make a
I don't
motion?
think we did, I guess.
I'd like to move.
Okay, let's go over that.
I think you kind of read it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah.
All right.
So Dr.
So
Chesney,
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the delegates for the 2018 MASB.
We have support.
Support?
Okay. Moved by Dr. Chesney, supported by Ms. Reed. All those in favor?
Discussion.
Any discussion?
Yeah, question.
Okay.
So this is just for 2018?
This is 2018, and then we'll do it again in 2019. But this is 2018 academic calendar, correct?
18, 19.
18-19 calendar.
Usually get this in the fall.
So what if he
be
did-
here?
Right.
So I would say again, I support Mrs. Reed, and then I don't support Mr. Stahl. Any comments?
John, if I may, this is just for one meeting, does that impact? I believe this meeting is in November.
Yes, I believe that's
It's just one meeting and then that's it.
In the motion, it's to attend the MASB Delegate Assembly on Thursday, November 1, 7:30 p.m. So it's specific for that.
that time, and then the next meeting will be the following year.
And somebody
Yeah.
else.
And we'll have to,
Well, we'll have to do this
elect
again
new
next year.
delegates for next
Correct.
meeting.
I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 7-0. Item C, donations, Hilton Therapy Dog, Dr. Gray.
We recommend that you accept the following donation of $1,000 from Kavanaugh Lawn Service and $1,000 from Corrigan Oil per Board Policy 7230 for the Hilton Therapy Dog with appreciation.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So move.
Support by Mr. Myers, supported by Mr. Conley. Any discussion?
I have just a comment on this, is that we have been nibbling at this $1,000 at a time for a lot of years. And it's one of those things, sometimes when you're nibbling at something, you don't necessarily realize how great the accomplishment is. Right? And one of the things I was reading in this magazine, this Neighbors magazine that came in the mail today, it talks about that the first school district in the state of Michigan to own therapy dogs and place them in every school. So first in the state of Michigan, we've done $1,000 at a time by these donations, and now we have dogs in all of our schools, and that the veterinary services are donated by local veterinarians, dog food is donated by Mars and Pet Supplies Plus. We have these great trainers, and so it's one of those, we've been voting on onesie, twosie, $1,000 here, $2,000 there, and it's significant, wonderful contributions, but this overall great goal of having a dog in each school is just, it's tremendous. I mean, we're the only school district in the state of Michigan, and so $1,000.
Maybe in the nation.
Maybe in the nation. And this is huge. I mean, this is just a wonderful accomplishment just over the course of what, the past decade or so.
About $80,000 all in.
Yeah, it's just, it's really amazing. And absolutely, we should approve this, and the bigger thing that was accomplished should also be acknowledged, that we have dogs in each of our schools.
And another one coming.
Yep.
In the future tonight, so.
Yeah, and then the last one that we're almost there on as well is Miller Intergenerational Center, and it'll service not only our preschool students but also our senior citizens.
Well, and I think you could probably give a lot of credit to Karen Story, who was actually the pusher of this whole thing. Is the one that brought it and has followed through, has gone out and solicited the donations, and have actually followed through with the dogs and that kind of thing. Big thanks to
It
her.
was the second call I got when I came to the district was from her about, hey, do you think we could own a dog?
Right.
I'm like, yeah, okay, I don't know, I'm gonna be out like 2 days. And when she explained the process, and I'd never seen it in action, I went and met, at that time it was actually a service dog for one of our counselors at the time. But it looked amazing, so we said yes, and then she said, what do you think about getting one for every school? And I thought, how much are they? She said, about $8,000 a piece. And if you remember at the time, we were $15 million in deficit. I said, okay, we're going to have to come up with some kind of alternative. So we started talking about that and point her in the right direction as boy, she runs. So, yeah, I would agree with Mr. Trump.
Mr. Conley.
And that brings me back to, again, it's wonderful that we've accomplished it over the 8 or 10 years, but it goes back to how we decided to spend funding and finances. Could we have them sooner? Would they have an impact sooner? And you can say, well, it's really wonderful we got here in 10 years, but we could have done it sooner. And I'm not saying it's not good enough, but technically it could have been done sooner. And the board has continued to give off the raises and hand out 2%, 2%, 2%, and
It seems like a good idea to celebrate the wins tonight.
I think you're interrupting me, I have the floor. So it was a choice that was made, I support it 100%, I'm glad the dogs are at the school. I would say that this applies to other programs that are coming forward in the future, and then we should make sure that we allocate the funds when necessary and not wait till they get donated, so because we can afford to buy them ourselves. We don't have to wait for donations. It's wonderful we did that, but we had the money here in the district to do it and have them sooner. So I would look at this as how much the benefit is for the students, the children, and even the adults in the school. I would also say that there are other issues that are going to come forward. They'll be probably not maybe as important as this in a way, but they'll be important, and maybe we should allocate our resources. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 7-0, and once again, great gratitude to both Kavanaugh Lawn Service and Corrigan Oil for this great donation in addition to the BAS team. Okay, item D, certified staff resignation, Dr. Gray.
We recommend you accept the resignations of Caitlin Kraus, a second-year kindergarten teacher at Hornet, and Chelsea Minnick, a third-year teacher, special education at Hawkins. Their HR sheets are attached.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Support moved by Dr. Chesney, supported by Mr. Myers. Is that, or Mr. Trump? I just heard down there, so. Mr. Trump. This is support. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 7-0. Item E, bus donation to Brighton Police Department. Dr. Gray.
We recommend that you donate or approve the donation of an old retired bus for police training purposes. We talked pretty extensively at the last meeting, but again, this was one of the first bus trainings in the K-12 area. A big thanks to our police departments for putting it together. I know our transportation department appreciated the training, and afterwards they thought, what a great idea if we could do this training all over. And so we had several buses, 3 or 4 buses that we were getting rid of anyways as we replaced them for this year, so it made sense to us.
Do we have a motion to approve?
So
Moved by Dr. Chesney,
Support?
supported by Ms. Reed. Any discussion?
There was some, I'm sorry.
Since I wasn't here last week, what is the logistics of this? Will they be delivered, picked up, dropped off?
They take care of all that.
What's that?
They're taking care of all that,
So they're coming to our bus yard, picking it up and taking it out.
yes.
And when's that supposed to happen, or has it happened?
We haven't, you guys haven't voted yet, so
Okay, so when's it supposed to happen?
I'll call them after.
Okay.
Dr. Chesney.
There's a conversation too about with engine or without engine. Is this
With
one of
engine.
the drivable ones?
It's my understanding of this one with engine.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 7-0. Item F, hiring of certified staff. Dr. Gray.
Some resign, some others come on, and we would recommend Nicole Kozakowski as a special education teacher between Horning and Brighton High School.
We have a motion to approve. Moved by Mr. Stahl. Supported by Mr. Trombley. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Passes 7-0. That will close out for action items and move us into for future action. Item A, leave of absence request. Dr. Gray.
We'll recommend in the next couple of weeks that you approve Chelsea Onsted's 1-year unpaid leave of absence request. She is a 5-6 special education teacher with 2 years of service to the district and does fall within the parameters that you set for approving a 1-year leave of unpaid absence. Unpaid leave of absence.
Any discussion, questions?
What happens in that instance? Is there a long-term sub that's hired, or?
Depends on who we can find at the time. We have to be highly qualified, so we go out and try to find people. Luckily, we're a pretty desirable district, so we still have a pretty good pool. We also, during the summer, when we interview, let's say we have some elementary openings, we'll post it, we'll get a couple hundred applicants, so we'll interview 10 people that we think would be stars in the district. If out of those 10 we come up with 8, but we only have 4 jobs, we keep a hold of those 4 resumes. Because we always know come the end of August, beginning of September, things happen. And so when they happen, Mr. Vecchione and I will call and make sure that there's still people available when we bring them in. And that's like what you're seeing in the last
And then does this person receive the sub pay
So
that's?
the way that works for us is we've raised sub pay to $90 a day, which has shown benefits so far. If you're in for more than 7 days, you jump to 120. If you're in, I believe it's more than 6 weeks, then you jump to 150 a day. So there's a scaling
That's
effect.
consistent, or that's days in a row?
Days in a row and a common job.
Okay.
Yeah. That's pretty in alignment with every school district does some variation of that. There used to be a law that after 120 days, if you had a particular sub in a position, you had to automatically offer them a contract. So we lobbied pretty hard against that, because imagine this, you have a teacher in there for 120 days, typically at 175, 180 day calendar, so you're going to pull out and bring in a new teacher with 60 days left. That doesn't make any sense. So that's how it was 5-6 years ago, but that legislation has been repealed.
So, I agree, this is for this year, this teaching year for 18.
Yeah. This is not out of the ordinary. This happens quite a bit.
Now, because she's only been with us for 2 years, do we have to bring her unpaid leave? We could just say you're done looking for us?
Well, you couldn't just say you're done working for us. You could disapprove a leave, and then they would have to make a decision. My only advice on that would be if you've treated lots of other people in a different manner, that might open you up to some kind of criticism in terms of that. So what we did, and I think it was one of the first couple of years you were on the board, John, was, if you recall, when I started, I think the longest leave we had was 17 years. Somebody had been on leave for 17 years, which didn't make any sense to me whatsoever. And they were all over the board. I think at that time we had about 45 people on leave. And so our fear as we were going through, if you remember, the biggest we ever had was, I think, 100 layoffs, was what if everybody scrambles and tries to come back, and now I have people 17 years trying to come back into a classroom because we're going through this financial crisis. And so we moved to, you get 2 years of unpaid leave if you have a rational reason for it, and then at that point you have to make a decision. Because carrying somebody on the books for 17 years is a HR nightmare.
So now she's not teaching currently, she's not in school teaching, or she's.
That's correct.
So we got somebody already.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Is this, I'd be interested, when's the last time we've looked at this policy? If I recall, based on my time on the board, it's been a good.
It's got to be 6 or 7 years. I
4
would say.
years. Is
Yeah.
that something that we could take a
We
look at?
could, yeah, if you'd like to. We haven't had, so we've had some people, typically it's tied to a maternity leave of some sort,
Yep,
or a paternity leave, we've had those as well.
yep,
And so what typically happens is at the end of 2 years, we call them up and say, "Are you coming back?" Some people say yes, some people say no. Some people choose to stay home and they're like, "No, I'm not coming back," and then we move forward with a new hire. Some people take the 2 years and then come back. We have had a couple instances where people came back for a couple years and then had maybe a second or a third child and then took another leave or 2. But again, we've had good luck filling, and we haven't been in layoff for a while. The challenge comes when you start to have layoffs. So if you have layoffs and you have this bank of 10, 15, 20 people, which we don't have that many anymore, but on leave, now all of a sudden you got to go back through that list. The only interesting part is with all the changes to the right to work type legislation is, and we tell people this very, very clearly, if you leave and go on leave, you're not guaranteed the same position coming back. And some people have had a real challenge with that. Most of the time when they have a specific, I would say a singleton or an elective type class, let's say I'm an art teacher, and I've taught art my entire career, but I'm K-5 certified. If you take a leave and then come back 2 years later and there isn't an art position, you could end up in a 3rd grade class and you've taught art for 25 years. And that could be a real challenge. So we try to manage this. We spend a lot of time managing this. We haven't found an issue with the 2-year process yet. We found that's a pretty good number for people to stay home and make a decision on whether or not they're going to come back, but obviously we're always open to discussion.
yeah, if you could send the policy to the board, that'd be helpful, just for us to take a look at. I think over 7 years, it's
Been pretty troublesome.
I don't think there's an actual policy on the 2-year piece. What there is there's a policy of people that can qualify to take a leave. What the board did 7 or 8 years ago is they set a standard, and they said, Greg, we're not going more than 2 years on this particular situation. And the reason they didn't put the actual number in there is in case what if happened and they had to make a different decision. They didn't want to pigeonhole themselves with a particular year in that. But for about 7 or 8 years now, it's been the 2-year mark.
good. Anything else? All right, item B, donation, social emotional therapy learning dogs, Dr. Gray.
And on the theme of dogs, we'd recommend in a couple weeks you accept the donation of $4,250 from Livingston Sunrise Rotary Foundation. Obviously that eclipsed the 7230 amount of $1,000. And if you approve this in a couple of weeks, we'll be sure and get a thank you out to them.
Is Livingston Sunrise Rotary Foundation, is that the same as the Rotary?
So there's 2 different Rotaries in Brighton. There's one that meets, I can't remember the day, if it's a Wednesday or a Monday, but it's at 7 a.m. in the morning. That's the Sunrise one.
Okay.
And then the one I'm in meets Tuesdays at noon, which is the Rotary International. So same exact organization,
Okay.
but 2 different groups that actually meet. Both very, very supportive of it. Yes. I would agree.
Kind of the Sharks and the Jets.
Well, I think honestly, Dave, I think what happened was there was a lot of interest, and the noon time didn't always work for everybody.
Okay.
And so the 7 a.m. for the Sunrise worked for some people that maybe started at 8 or 9 o'clock, something like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anything else? Any other questions? Item C, Brighton High School field trip to Stratford, Ontario.
So we'll be recommending in a couple of weeks that you approve the ELA trip to see Shakespeare in Ontario. This is an out-of-country, obviously, trip. That one has to be brought in front of the board. You can see the cost, you can see the student-to-adult ratio. It all falls within what we typically do. And so we have that in front of you. It's put on by really our entire English department, but Kelly Armstrong is coordinating. This is during the day, I believe.
So again, is this booked through a tour agency, or is this put together by the staff?
I'll have to check, but I believe it's through the staff.
And again, I'm assuming that she will follow through, or the legacy will carry over from Dr. Surrey. In all these will come before her for review and approval, is that correct?
That's actually came from her tonight, but I'm trying to let her get her feet wet out of the gate. So,
Okay.
yeah, this actually comes from Ms. Motors.
But again, moving forward.
We talked about it today.
Okay.
And this isn't the first time. I mean, this is an annual trip. So
Annual.
I assume we've been using the same protocol and the organizational structure
For years and years and years.
Yeah.
I have a question too. It's just related to the students. I mean, for the students who want to go, they have to have some kind of passports or be able to cross borders. Or driver's license.
Unless they're 16, enhanced at 16.
And do we have a mechanism for students who want to go but can't afford to go?
In everything around here we do.
Okay.
I couldn't tell you one event, one activity, one club, one sport, one anything where if a kid comes to us and says they can't pay, that we don't figure out a way to get them. I can't tell you one.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, that moves us out of for future action and into board committee reports, Board of Education bulletins. Do we have anything this evening in the committee report or education bulletin space? Okay, Strand.
A few items. One, the new research, and I guess started over with it regarding her board voting over the phone. And then I think she related to the superintendent. So I'd like Dr. Gray to chime in on what the policy should be, or if we're supposed to adopt a policy. I would say that it puts in question the vote when we took a vote over the phone in a way, but because there was enough here without a vote on the phone, I'm not going to challenge the results of that vote. But I am challenging that we didn't have a policy in place necessarily to handle it.
We do have a policy.
Okay, so
Yeah, so we do have policy in place. I can pass it down if you'd like.
Was it board of adopted policy?
Yeah, it's 0160,
Okay.
about our meetings. So, and when we talk to MASB Attorney Brad Vanasek, who we go to for all these types of questions, it's well within your rights to have somebody vote on the phone. What they talk about is that it shouldn't be like a common practice. There should be extenuating circumstances that have some kind of effect on that particular board member's ability to be at that particular meeting. And it says, board member actively participate remotely. There was a House bill, it was 4184, that was passed, I believe, about a year ago, that would prohibit the ability for somebody to vote remotely. It's gone to the Senate and has not made it out of committee yet. So it hasn't been passed into law that would not allow the ability to vote remotely. They do frown upon it unless you have a very, very specific policy on that, but it isn't a violation. Now, a board member can actually, at that particular meeting, object and then ask for a ruling from the remainder of the board to see if they want to proceed and allow it to happen, but you'd have to do it in that particular meeting. That's what we got from Brad. I'm reading you what he sent me, so
Doesn't the board need to adopt a policy that allows the phone? Because we don't have a policy that says specifically that we allow it. Don't we need to
correct.
review that and say that
You could. So if as a board, you chose to in the future want to have a specific policy that says, yep, everybody can vote, then you could do that. If you don't, then you go to typically your board policy, which generically follows MCL law. And so law allows for it to happen unless the parameters that I just told you happen in terms of that. So again, House Bill 4184 was passed by the House last year. Now the Senate must pass it. Currently installed in the Senate, may not be revived. We don't know.
So a portion of it's passed to make it illegal, where you couldn't.
For a law, it has to pass the House and the Senate and then go to the governor for a signature. I remember that from that cartoon back in the day.
But the idea is it's in process. There could be something go through the state, which would then.
Could be, yeah. It's if you want to look it up, look up House Bill 4184.
I don't need to look it up. I
Okay.
just did. That's why I had you look it up. So the idea though is there's something in the works that could make it illegal to go to the phone.
Possibly.
It's been in the works for a while,
A while.
and nothing's happened significantly to this point.
Correct.
I would suggest that this board adopt a policy, and you can do anything you want. Suggest a policy. If you're going to make a policy that for phone is okay, the board then says it.
So there's really two.
Let me ask this question then, and just to move this on. Is there a desire by the board to develop our own internal policy beyond what we currently have in place?
We have a sample of that as well, so I can scan this to you in my private.
Well, I want to present it to the
Nobody's
whole
read
board.
it. Nobody's read it.
Well, my question though is to the board is there a desire to put a BAS specific policy in place related to whether board members can vote over the phone beyond what is currently in place that has been presented to us?
You know, I think it's worth us taking some time to look at the materials
You
and
have
put
it
it
with you.
on the agenda for the next board meeting
Okay.
So you
to
have
discuss.
Or Wednesday night?
You have current policy in the first sheet, and then you have proposed language or sample language in the second sheet.
So we could put this on, add this as an agenda item on Wednesday night as well, or we could put it on the next board meeting.
Which would be better, because we get a lot of Wednesdays.
Yeah, and I think our Wednesday agenda is
So
pretty
let's
full.
put it on the next board meeting, and it doesn't even, it can sit for future action for a
Okay,
while.
that's what I'm just saying.
Does the policy committee before next board meeting?
October 2nd.
That might be a good place to get
But you
some.
know, Alicia, I was afraid that might be a solution. And I would like to see some of that stuff pushed off to the other committee, because there always seems to be a lot on our plate. And we really never get through the whole meeting without additional time and those type of things. So maybe it'd be easier to take some of these special things, maybe for instance this one, put it over on the finance committee, let them go through it, part of their committee. That's fine. And let them come back with something.
So I'm hearing that the finance, there's recommendation for the finance committee to look at this and then come forward with a recommendation versus it going for future action for discussion. Is that
Or going to the policy committee or the building.
So don't even put it on the agenda until we go through the policy.
correct? Is everybody good with that?
I'm only one member of the finance committee, but I'm okay with that.
I'm one member of it, it's great.
There's a majority.
There's two out of three.
You're remaining silent? That's okay.
He's got a scheduled meeting, so he's.
We'll go with silence for now.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Okay, so we discussed the vote. The other thing I saw, WHMI ran an article on some legislation that was recently passed for some students from Brighton and Lead. I'd like the board to, the article's dated September 10th, so if they have time to look it up, maybe we could talk about it later time. But another, maybe the first Brighton students, another large impact. And so, get it, look that up.
Governor signed that.
Pardon?
Governor signed that.
The governor signed it. So the students and the governor signed it. And it's, like I said, it's on the date September 10th. Mr. Tolan's here tonight, probably has some knowledge of this as well. So, and I had one other, this thing with Nike that's got a lot of airtime. And I understand that we signed a contract with Nike, is that correct, Dr. Gray?
Usually a co with BSN and them. BSN is a group that, again, sells sporting equipment.
Wholesale.
Wholesale, yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty normal throughout high school. Yeah. What they,
Nike equipment, though, that you really like?
no, there's also, there's Nike and all other kinds. So baseball bats, shoes, knee pads. What it typically is it's almost like an online store that you can go to and buy stuff at a wholesale rate. And so we offer that to the parents. We don't force anybody to do anything, and then they can choose to go on there. And if they want to buy a baseball bat and they save $30 on it, good for them. Or if they want a different shirt or uniform and they go downtown to Kensington Valley, they can do that as well. So it's just another opportunity for people to purchase stuff in a different venue. We try to create as many of those as we can. It's not an exclusive. There's no exclusivity to it. In terms of that, if a team of ours wanted to wear one of the brands, if a team of ours wanted to wear Reebok or wanted to wear Puma or wanted to wear whatever, they can do that as well.
So does it make it look like we're endorsing Nike?
I've never had anybody come up to me and say, hey, you're endorsing Nike. We don't put a swoosh on a field or anything like
I
that.
had them on the list, though. It's not like I remember when we discussed it,
We tell kids to wear whatever makes their feet comfortable, or whatever makes their clothes comfortable. So again, our coaches typically get together with a team, typically buying, and I know Andy and I, this year both our kids are on swim. The captains get together with the coach and they decide on a suit, and then the suit is purchased and they go from there. And then they purchase another suit when they get close to the MISCAs halfway through the year, and another suit when they get close to the end of the year, and they're all different kinds.
So does Brighton area schools purchase Nike equipment?
Absolutely. Yeah. And Reebok and Adidas and all of those things. Okay. And Louisville Slugger for baseball bats and different helmets and shoot helmets, and yeah, we go through a myriad of vendors out there. Nike being one of them, absolutely.
That's what I need for. Thank you. I appreciate the board's time.
Any other topics?
We'll be bringing a topic from our committee forward at Wednesday's meeting, so we can discuss it at the board. That's all I got.
That will close board committee reports, Board of Education bulletins, and that will move us to second call to the public. Does anyone wish to address the board in second call to the public? Please step to the podium and same rules apply.
Hi, Kara, Channel 4095 Quincy Boulevard. I heard you guys talking about Wednesday meeting. Is it before this September 24th?
Yes, this is incorrect.
Okay, I just want clarification on that, please.
Yep. It's Wednesday at 6 o'clock. Board workshop here in this room.
All right, thanks.
You're welcome.
Very quickly, again, Nicole Sherrill, 4136 Richmond Farms Drive in Howell. One, just feedback on the therapy dogs. I think this has been a great process, even if it's taken a number of years to get all the dogs in the school from a parent perspective, from a physician perspective. There's a lot of great research and education out there in terms of the positive support for health and psychological well-being of our kids. I think it would be great if Karen Story or one of our educators takes this to the national spotlight, similar to our recognition of ESPN. My kids watched that video clip with great pride, and I think it would be great to share this story to a broader audience in our local community. And secondly, I know there's a very specific process to share information with the board. I did want to ask if I have the documents that I referred to, if I can share those formally with the board, if anyone's interested in reviewing those at the meeting. Okay, thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board this evening? Okay, that'll close second call to the public. And as mentioned a moment ago, our next meeting is this Wednesday, September 12th, 2018, and this is a board workshop from 6 to 8 p.m. here in this room. All right.